Hey moneymakers, welcome back to another video. This is Money with Money, where we discuss all things finance, and today I want to talk to you guys about how I bought my first rental property. Okay, so the process of buying a rental property is a lot like buying your first property. You have to have a down payment, have a good credit score, the inspection, the appraisal. At close, you sign the paperwork and it's a done deal. For me, my situation was a little different because of the way I went about the financing, and so I really wanted to share that with you all. That way you can have this idea in case you ever want to invest and buy property and just haven't thought about this way. So first things first, the first thing that I had to do in order to buy my rental property was get some money, right? So if you've watched my videos before, you see how I'm all about budgeting, saving, making sure I'm intentional with my funds, and creating multiple streams of income. That way I'm making as much money as I can and spending as least I'm not spending any money, y'all. So basically by sticking to a strict budget and working 2 jobs, able to save like $30,000 in a matter of months. And don't get intimidated, that's not how much I needed to put on the property, but I was able to do that last year, which made me feel confident towards buying a rental property. So if you know anything about getting a mortgage, you know you need to have, for an FHA loan, you need about 3% down. And for a commercial loan of some sort, you need about 25% down. And so that's what I was trying to save up. I had my money saved and I was ready to go. I started hitting up the banks like, hey, I'm ready to put down, da 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 da. I tried to see if I would qualify for an FHA loan, but being that I already have this house, you're not allowed to hold 2 FHA loans at once. So they said no to that. The second property would be, a commercial property, so I would have to get that kind of loan, which would require me to have 25%. I was like, okay, no sweat. I prepared for that. So when I went to try to show the bank my sources of income and stuff so that they can see, I'm a viable candidate for the mortgage, they told me that they didn't want to count one of my streams of income, which made up just about half of how much I was making in total. And so with them not wanting to count half of my income because it was 1099 income and I hadn't been doing it for 2 years, my chances of getting a loan, a regular mortgage, was going down. And so there was a property that I had visited already that I was interested, that I was looking at, talking to the realtor about it, met the seller already, and I'll put a picture of it around here somewhere. And literally I was embarrassed because the bank was like, your money's no good, sis. No, it's 1099. We need W-2. Well, I guess I'll just have to wait the 2 years out and just relax. And so from then on, I kept looking at realtor.com. Realtor.com is like a Facebook for me because I'm always, or Instagram more so, because I'm always looking at pictures of houses. I'm always seeing the market out there. It doesn't matter if I'm looking in Texas, if I'm looking in South Florida, if I'm looking in New York. I just like to see what's out there. And so one night I'm scrolling through at the dinner table and I noticed that this duplex popped up, and it was going for about $170, and I was like, oh well, I could afford it, but yeah, they're not gonna give me the mortgage on it. So I wasn't even getting my hopes up. I still looked though, and I looked at the description of where it was, how many bedrooms and all of that, and they ended up saying that seller financing is available for it. And so I hadn't heard of seller financing prior to this, and I decided to look it up really quick. So it's basically when the seller of the property gives you the loan for the property. So you're financing the property through the actual seller. And so you guys work out the interest rate and you work out the terms and stuff privately with the seller versus having to go through a bank. For sellers, they kind of get a little bit more money when they do it this way. So that's a plus for them. And for buyers, it's a lot easier to qualify than with the mortgage, which has way stricter regulations that can't bend for anyone. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, this might be it. And so, I sent a message out and waited. And usually when I'm on realtor.com and I get interested in a property, even if I end up not buying it, I'll just send out a query and just let them know that I'm interested, and right then and there somebody would give me a call, somebody would send me an email, something, and I didn't get anything on this property. And so I'm like, what the heck, what's going on here? And so throughout the night I just kept researching seller financing a lot more and understanding how there are possibilities for fraud and how you can get scammed if somebody tries to sell you a property that they don't own for real or something like that. And so you just have to make sure you do the research that you need to do. You get a good title company, you get a good attorney to look over everything and make sure, you know, they are actually able to sell this property to you. So the very next morning, I checked my phone again and it was dry. Nobody, no realtor or anything called me about it. And I'm like, dang, I haven't seen anything that said seller financing in the description box before. And so I'm like, this might be my only chance. And so I got desperate. So I'm looking through realtor.com a little bit more. I scroll up 2 properties under it and it has the same exact description except for, you know, different location and stuff like that. But this property that I saw was for $130,000 and it was on the same street but a little further down. It said new in the corner this time, aside from the property from the night before. So I interested, and as soon as I clicked interested, a realtor called me and she, you know, asked me for my information and we just discussed what I was looking for and stuff. And so I was able to see the property that same day. It has some cosmetic issues, but it's nothing that was too crazy. And being that the seller only wanted 10% down versus the 25% I was expecting, like I can use that extra money that I thought I was going to spend to renovate and make some adjustments to the property as I see fit. The property has tenants in it. They've been there for like 5 years each. Right now we're in a discussion on what the future looks like. And so I made an offer the next day. I think I made it the same day, honestly, right after I saw it. But I made an offer. And they accepted my offer. I overnighted a $1,000 good faith deposit to the title company. I got an inspection done. We walked around and looked at all the issues, and literally within 2 weeks, we were at close. I signed the paperwork. Everything was transferred over to me. I gave him my check, and I've been the owner ever since. The first step I told you was to save some money, right? And I did that. Second step was to get the funding, and for me, that funding, seller financing, is what saved everything because I wasn't getting a traditional mortgage. So even if you're looking to get your first house or any property in general, think to look for properties that are offering seller financing or private lending and stuff like that, because maybe that'll work out better for you than a mortgage. But of course, crunch the numbers, do the math, make sure it makes sense. Don't end up losing money in the end or getting scammed. Make sure you do your research on the property, make sure you do a title check, all that stuff. And so now I'm at the step where we're closed, everything's good to go. And I feel very proud of myself for doing this, because at the end of the day, I know that I cannot pass down a job. I can't pass off the fact that I'm an accountant to my kid, but I can pass down property. And so I'm all about creating generational wealth and making sure that my future generations have something to fall back on, because in my eyes, it's my responsibility to make sure it happens, okay? And there's many different ways that you can go about creating your generational wealth. I just know for me, real estate is something that I'm really attracted to and really interested in. She's snoring. So this is the way that I chose to do it. And so that's my story on how I bought my first rental property. But one thing I did not mention is I didn't buy it like under an LLC. So basically I bought it with my name, and so I'm learning that for tax purposes and stuff, that's probably, and for liability reasons, it's probably not the best idea. So what I decided to do, so I've just created an LLC, and I'm working on the transfer of the deed, to transfer the property from me to the LLC, and make sure all the documents are now in the LLC's name. That way it could protect me if there's something to go wrong, and for tax purposes I don't get double tax because I'm going to file as an S corp under that LLC. So that is something else that I'm working on. I don't know what the future holds, but I do have a plan. I want to in order to pay the property off a lot quicker, I do want to make extra payments every year so that I can own it free and clear and not have to, deal with the seller anymore and just claim all the profits from rent by myself, because, yeah, I'm getting rent, but I still have to make a payment, so it's kind of eating into my profits, and eventually I want that to stop. So I do want to put extra money down on the property, that way I can own it a lot faster. Like I said, I'm already going to renovate the property and thereby increase its value, and what I want to do is take a HELOC on this property and buy some more rental properties. So that's going to be a whole different video. That's going to be a whole different discussion. Again, thank you for watching my video, guys. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that down below, and stay tuned for my next video. Until then, happy investing. Bye.